Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Prismata. Let's jump in the queue and try to play some games. Oop, well. Uncle Ben. I don't think I've played against this person either. I was gonna say defensive set, but you kind of have to go red here, right? Like, there's three defensive units, these bottom three, and the top two are pretty aggressive. Shiver Yeti is a strong counter to Grimbotch, which is why I think you need to go red here. Like, if your opponent goes red, then you want Yetis available. If your opponent doesn't go red, you want Botches available. So it would be real nice to get some Doomed Walls, although, honestly, Yeti counters that too. This is like a Yeti Superstar set, I think. I think I'm happy to be player 2. Seems kind of like, well, Fastimus should be pretty good, but also player 1's natural turn 3 Animus should be fine, because it's a bit slower as red sets go. I don't know if I really want to invest in blue just to get Doomed Walls. What in the world? That would be a play and a half. Like, yeah, Doomed Wall is an absorber, but I think Yeti is enough of a punish for that. If my opponent goes red, I'll probably start with just Botches or maybe Botch Tarsier. If he goes blue, I will start with 2 Tarsiers. Okay, yeah, this is what I think is the right opening for player 1. So I can start like this to make it like a bit awkward for him. He kind of wants to build a Rhino, or rather, I guess, a Shiver Yeti, but he kind of doesn't. Actually, maybe I shouldn't build this at all, because he'll certainly get some Shiver Yetis eventually, right? And they'll get great value against my Grimbotches. So I might want some Botches later when the game is higher pressure, when, like, the extra 1 attack is a big deal. But right at this very moment, it's not a huge deal, and the fact that the Grimbotch can be frozen makes it, I think, substantially worse. So we'll just start with some Tarsiers. A bit of a slower opening here. Okay, he's gonna do the same. Conduit, yeah, that's a good play. I played a game against Masterbot like yesterday or something with Shiver Yeti, no, with Grimbotch Sentinel, and like it started as this super aggressive thing, and then suddenly both of us had no attack, and we had to spend forever, like no attack and no drones. I think Ossified was in the set also, actually. So it would be kind of cool to build a Corpus here, but I don't think it's a good idea. I'd like to build a Corpus someday, I just don't think that day is today. Here, the attack actually does something. He probably wants to build a Shiver Yeti and a Sentinel, right? That's what he wants to do with his money. So we should actually build 2 Grimbotches, which makes that impossible for him. It threatens to breach that for exact. So he'll have to do something else. I don't know about this Blast Forge. Gonna have a tough time defending if you do this. If you, instead of holding a drone, you should at least build a Corpus, right? This Rhino just seems like the wrong idea if you want a Blast Forge. Just build a Corpus and like you'll be very happy. Also, instead of a Rhino, it should be a Shiver Yeti? Like, I don't know. Rhino seems like the worst thing you could build on this turn. Well, okay, Tarsiers would be worse. But the worst red defender you could build, right? What's he gonna do next turn? Build a Doomed Wall? Plus what? I'm thinking of just building like 2 Shiver Yetis to say like, I dare you. Like, I'll freeze all your defenses. What are you gonna do then? A Corpus is another reasonable play, except that I don't really want that much defense, and it would basically be an opportunity to invest in blue if I did that, I think. Which I don't really want. I don't have enough drones to support that. I think I'll just build 2 Shiver Yetis to freeze whatever blue thing he's about to build and continue putting pressure on his kind of crappy red defenders. Make it difficult for him to attack with that Rhino. Right, like he can't build a Corpus here, I don't think. He can't build a Sentinel. He kind of needs force fields. And if he builds those, I'll freeze his wall, and he has awkward defense against 4 with just even numbers. Yeah, I actually breach against Corpus. You need Corpus and force field, I think. Which he can't be happy about. I think, though, that that is his best option. Okay, well, drone works, I guess. So I don't think this is right. It forces him to lose the drone, but actually just denying him the absorb and forcing him to lose one of Corpus or Rhino feels better to me. More botches? No, that's a bit too much. What about a Rhino here? Yeah, honestly, Shiver Yeti, right? Like, he's got plenty for me to freeze. He's depending on force fields. I still don't think it's right to build a Corpus and then a wall, and then a Blast Forge. I need to put on more pressure so that like he can't actually threaten to Shiver Yeti my Grim Botches coming up. Yeah, I kind of like this. He can build another wall soon, which will mean I can't freeze them all, but then I can just point my Shiver Yeti at all his red 2 health defenders, or his Doomed Wall or something. Or his force field, whatever, you know. Okay, this looks like defending, but I guess he just doesn't like it very much because he still has 2 Tarsiers and I have a real attack. Cool. A nice short one. I think that, like, going for blue was the wrong idea. He was just over-teched. Like, he had... Green and red was... enough tech. And then, as I said, this Rhino was the worst decision. Corpus is just way better if you're gonna keep defending with it, which is what he was doing. So, I don't know. Green is ambitious, I would say, right? You'd like to get out Sentinels, but your opponent kind of, i.e. me, I threaten to make that quite difficult for him. You probably... Like, as player 1 here, you want to take advantage of having, like, slightly more drones. Although, actually, it turns out we don't, because I was able to keep droning while I built attackers. But, you know, he got green as a way to take advantage of his earlier economic advantage. So, I think that's fine, but you can't also fit in blue. Maybe it's not fine. I don't actually know. Right? Sentinels are hard to build here because they're so slow, and Grimbotch and Yeti are pretty fast. But I think if you were able to get a Corpus at some point, you could then start putting out a Sentinel maybe someday. And then like squeeze in a Tarsier or two eventually. I don't know. So I think that after this point, the game is pretty bad for him. But it's not over. Right? His Corpus, you know, is cool. He's got walls. Here, it says I'm breaching him, but I'm actually not. I can't get full freeze value. We're freezing wall. I don't know. It doesn't even matter what we freeze, in fact. We're probably freezing nothing and just defending with the Rhino. Actually, I should freeze all this stuff so he has to lose a wall. Which is good because it lets me threaten to keep freezing all of his walls. Probably that's good. I don't know. Anyway, let's get going. Get to game 2. Oh no, first, numbers. Look at that. Those are numbers. All right. Confirm. There's a new player in chat who's asking like how all kinds of stuff works. Mostly about ranked play, I guess, whether he should play ranked. A request to all the masters, stop queuing ranked so I can go up some tiers. Thanks. Yeah. Blazing Ragnarok, a player I have never seen before. A lot of freeze here. Can you get to Colossus? The thing is, it seems like mass green beats like red, because like red kind of wants to build this. But and you have access to freeze, which is great. But can you get that before the Colossus player? There's kind of a rock paper scissors between, you know, sort of high econ Colossus versus like a large amount of freeze versus breach proof. With, well, you're not very breach proof, I guess. But Tantalum Ray is just like green, you know. It's not breach proof, but it's green and it's pretty efficient as attackers go. I don't think Colossus is enough justification to go high econ, especially with all this access to freeze. So I think we want a pretty modest economy size of like 14 or 15 drones. And given that, I'm still not sure what I'm doing, but maybe green-blue? Red, huh? Green still seems good against that. Right? Like, Oxide Mixer is like okay. It's a good way to build up threat against red. Before you like bump into their walls, you don't have to invest a lot into attack. And we can invest most of our economy into walls and Tantalum Rays. And then like try to save up some green to build Cryo Rays. Yeah, this feels like enough drones to me. We're just gonna try to like build a bunch of Tantalum Rays, and maybe we will never actually get these Oxide Mixers because of, really? It doesn't really seem that amazing. I think I'll just build an Engineer. So my opponent is playing base set only Red Rush. I should know how to beat this, right? I guess he's gonna Frostbite me before too long. I'll probably need a Force Field next turn, but I can get an Oxide Mixer since I'm not building a wall. Wow, he's not building any more rhinos? I get to just kill an engineer for free? That's amazing. Thank you. That's a big deal to a red player, isn't it? Oh my god, a drone. What is this? This is insanity. He's only actually attacking for 5. So I could force field to defend, but I think a wall is perfectly fine. Okay, can't build an engineer. This looks alright to me. Yeah, I like where this is going a lot. This might actually be my last Tantalum Ray. It feels like about Cryo Ray time now. I wish I had 3 green instead of 2, though, since he's apparently threatening a wall for some reason. He held a Rhino. I guess that makes some sense. Yeah, maybe it's not such a great idea to go for Cryo Rays. He's committing himself more to defense than to attack with this Blast Forge, maybe? And so I should work on, not on freezing to get to the Tarsiers immediately, but just on, like, doing some damage. We're threatening, what, 4, 7, 8 next turn. I happened to say a random number, and it was the right one, but not for any real reasons. 8 when the only defense he has is a Rhino. Sort of hard for him to put together more defense, right? He can build a wall, which is 2 defense, and then he needs like a Rhino, hold a couple drones. Yeah, this seems pretty strong. The Oxide Mixer might be a mistake, but I think it's alright. It could be a Splitter instead, I guess, if I cut the Engineer, and then we're threatening 9. Yeah, the Oxide Mixer is probably too slow. He's holding this Rhino, of course, but what can you do? I could go back to this play, I guess, and hold a drone to make him click the Rhino, but it doesn't even do that. I'm still losing. Yeah, that's silly. Okay, I think we'll do this. Yeah, hold 3 drones, huh? Another very fast game. Yeah, I don't understand the red rush here. It just doesn't seem right to me. It also was not executed very well. I don't think 2 Tarsiers followed by Rhinos followed by Tarsiers followed by Rhinos followed by Tarsiers. Right? Alternating Rhinos and Tarsiers is not the idea you want. At some point, you're switching over from Tarsiers into Rhinos, or you're maybe building 1 Rhino to defend while you build more Tarsiers to attack. But you don't generally want to switch back from defense to offense with Tarsiers, because they're just so slow. So, I don't know. This I think, could have been a more interesting set. Right, I mentioned the sort of 3 strategies that seem to see interplay of, like, going for just basically green with Cryo Ray and Tantalum Ray. And maybe some blue. Probably some blue for a wall. And, like, then you have Oxide Mixer as a sink. That's what I did. That seems like strategy 1. Strategy 2 is to go for some sort of high econ thing where you actually get to Colossus and use that to defend against the enemy pressure. Strategy 3 is like red-green, to have access to like efficient efficient attackers. Both Tarsier and Tantalum Ray are efficient. And also very good freeze in the form of Frostbite and Cryo Ray. And I think that the freeze should be a big deal to anyone who tries to go for Colossus, because they kind of have to over-defend a lot, or you threaten to kill whatever Colossus they're defending with, which is a huge deal for them. They can't very comfortably allow a light breach the way that you could if you were playing like blue-green. And I don't know if there really is a rock paper scissors between those three, but it sort of seemed like there might be to me. When my opponent declares red, I think that just going like walls and Tantalum Rays is the idea. So I did that, and together, especially also with like Oxide Mixer, that's a cheap way to put on a little bit more pressure, which is something red doesn't appreciate very much at all. All right. No huge revelations in the analysis of that one. So we'll get a third game in, and perhaps a fourth, which would be like a first. Duck Fota? Fota? I don't know. Duck Fota. So there's two big frontline defenders. Savior shouldn't see any play. Is Thunderhead really that good? It could be. But like, your opponent can respond with a Hannibal, and then the attack from Thunderhead isn't that great. So I think I'd like to go kind of red first. And I kind of would like to get to red-blue, which makes this Fastimus look kind of silly. Yeah, like I also kind of like the idea of using a Gaussite, good lord, I never pronounced that wrong. A Gaussite to accumulate some green to like someday build a Thunderhead, but that's like way too much stuff. Like I'm just sort of listing all the units in the set, saying I'd like these. I need a more coherent plan. And here, I don't think we're going for a very high econ, right? I think just Tarsiers into Gaussite, and like then when I get blue I can build Urban Sentry, which would be great. Seems okay. Okay, so oops. Yeah, I guess there is that, huh? He's gonna build an Urban Sentry, not a wall. Which means I'll want a Rhino, which means that the whole Gaussite plan is not really working out. I guess I could build a Gaussite now to make it awkward for him to build a Sentry, and then some Tarsiers. That's probably better. Yeah, I still don't really know how to play Gaussite properly, but I think I'd like to get to Urban Sentry, and this is a way to get green. And I can click it to make his Thunderhead worse at some point in the future if he tries to build one. I do feel like I'm not in good shape, though. I just don't like any of the player 2 openings here. You gotta click on all the drones, please. Secret fan, oh yeah, okay. Okay, so this looks almost like, it looks like he's clearly trying for Thunderhead, but I don't understand the second Urban Sentry in that case. Shouldn't it just be a Steel Splitter so that you have an odd number of green? Alright. This lets me get a Blast Forge, which I'm okay with. Whether I can squeeze out an Urban Sentry remains to be seen, but I hope so. Probably, since I have access to Force Fields, I should be able to do it one way or another. But I want to keep an eye on 11. That's a very important number against someone who's trying to build a Thunderhead. I also should consider the possibility, wow, of a Hannibal. You're not going to be able to build the thing next turn if you spend any green. Unless you build a 4th conduit, which really seems excessive. Shouldn't you build a splitter, though? Like, if you cut one drone and build a splitter instead, you have exactly enough to Thunderhead next turn? Well, this is going to make it easy to... So we have 3... So he clearly wants a Thunderhead next turn, right? And with a Hannibal, we can make that completely pointless. Because he'll be attacking for 6. We soak it all up, and then on the turn after, we can threaten 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, right? 12, actually. So I could hold back the Hannibal as well. Yeah, this seems like a very strong counter to his Thunderhead threat, which he's strongly committed to at this point. And we're even killing one of his Urban Sentries as well. I think. 3, 6, yeah. Okay, so he does 6. Next turn we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 11. Perfect. Just build NGs. Cut this and build a Sentry, I guess. This does a little more damage, means I can hold back my Hannibal next turn, which I would really quite like to do. So then it's 1, 2, 3, 6, 12. Oh. 3, 9. I have that much damage for sure. Okay. So I'm holding back the Hannibal and the Rhino, which is fine, I guess. A third very fast game. Okay. But I think that, wow. We'll just, we'll watch the replay for this one, and that will get us to half hour, which is at least a reasonable length for an episode. I try not to make these episodes an hour long. Yeah, so I still don't really know what is the right overall plan here. I think with Gaussite threatening Burst, Thunderhead is not really a thing, and likewise Hannibal, not really a thing. So this set is really just like... Well, I mean, these could be bought. They exist as threats that your opponent has to warp their build around. But they won't get much value if you actually do build them, assuming your opponent plays correctly, right? So it sort of seems like these two units are the set. In that set, do you go red or do you go blue-green? I think it's fine to go red into blue-green, which is what I did. But, you know, if your opponent also, like if I open red and he opens red, we may never actually get to introduce blue because I would have been under more defensive pressure against a red player than against someone who was like rushing for Thunderhead. And so I might not have been able to fit in my Blast Forge. It might come down to just like Tarsiers, Gaussites, Rhinos. I think this is fine for player 1, as I mentioned. It's gonna be a relatively low econ game, and Urban Sentry is a pretty cool unit, so why not? And it's also something that makes the red player sad, because their Tarsiers are gonna get no value. Here comes the Emote Storm. I think my Symbiote was a reasonable play into this, because what he really wants to build is an Urban Sentry, and this gets good value against that compared to the 2 Tarsiers that I was going to build otherwise. And he went for sort of like a not a good Thunderhead build either, right? He ended up like spending too much of his green on Urban Sentries and had to build way more conduits than he really wants in order to get Thunderhead out in any reasonable time frame. Like you don't want more than 2 conduits this game. 2 is fine if you want to get Thunderhead, and it's probably fine even if you don't. Urban Sentry is a good green sink, but I think 3 is just too many. And by building this Urban Sentry and a drone, he like sort of commits himself to doing things he doesn't like. It would have been fine, by the way, to build this Urban Sentry as long as you don't also build the conduit, I think. I don't know. As I was saying, I guess 2 green is fine, so maybe this is totally reasonable. He wants to build like Urban Sentry Gauss Cannon or something. That's fine. Although I would be inclined... Yeah, that seems alright. You could think about getting a second Blast Sword instead of a second conduit, but they're both alright. The trick is that now this like 3rd conduit plus a bunch of drones, he like cut some drones to get tech out, right, on turn 3, and then again on turn 4 he built fewer drones than he could have. This engineer seems weird, but I guess it gives him granularity back. And again he cut drones to like get attackers out, but then he went back to building drones, which like I think it was fine to stop droning and start attacking, but when you like then stop attacking and go back to droning and teching, just like it doesn't really work. You invested a bunch of effort to kill 1 engineer per turn from me, right? Would have been better just let me keep the engineers for a little while. And his 3rd conduit was such a very strong commitment and signal that I was able to like know exactly what he would do on his next turn, and exactly the right response is pretty easy to find with the Hannibal and the Symbiote click. So I was just sort of in the driver's seat here. Had to float some red to get out, just because I'm sort of over-teched here. But I think it was worth it to get these 2 blue units. And yes, we were threatening 6, 9, 10, 11 damage without clicking anything, so that's what we would do. His Thunderhead literally kills none of my units, and gets killed on his first turn, and gets... It denies him absorb value, is what this Thunderhead did. And produced a lot of soak, you know, but that's not what you want Thunderhead to do. It should do more than just soak up 9 damage. It's very inefficient for that, if that's all it does. Okay, well, that's another win. How nice. But we will not play a 4th game this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.